Hey, what's up guys? Mike here from medicalschoolinsider.com. Today we're going to be talking about the AMCAS application. So this is a big deal. You want your AMCAS application to be great. The reason for that is it's really the most reviewed document throughout your application process. The screeners are going to look at it. Then once it passes the screeners, they're going to go to the people that invite you to interview. They're going to look at it. From there, you go through your interview. It goes back to a committee who's going to review it again. Maybe you can get reviewed again after that. Your interviewer reviews it. So a lot of people are looking at this thing, and you want it to stand out, okay? So, and a lot of people kind of miss this. They work really hard on the personal statement, and they kind of leave the AMCAS application just, as a kind of passing thought, right? They just kind of throw some things down on there and say, okay, this is what I've done, whatever. Here's how I want you guys to think about this. The AMCAS is your chance to sell yourself to the admissions committee. Every single activity you put on that thing should be, you should look at it as a chance to do just that, to sell yourself to the committee. If you'll do that, that'll really kind of shift the way you think about this thing and change the things that you put in there, probably, hopefully. So what you want to do here is you want to give the school the things that they want to hear, okay? So medical schools are looking for certain things about a person, okay? They're not necessarily looking for certain activities, although there are some activities you have to have, like shadowing a doctor or working in a hospital or things like that. You do have to have some clinical experiences. But other than that, they're not necessarily looking for like, okay, this person did this, this, and this. They're really looking for a person who has developed certain character traits that will make them a good doctor. For example, compassion, okay? So the hard thing is, how do you exactly show compassion? It's hard to do. So your AMCAS application is your chance to do that, to show the committee that you have compassion, to show the committee that you understand what it takes to be a doctor, to show the committee that you have leadership skills, okay? All of these things are going to be what you should be emphasizing in your AMCAS application, okay? So a lot of people get this wrong. They just want to list a bunch of stuff, and here's the other big problem. A lot of people just want to list what they did and leave it at that. They hear, oh, you want to keep it succinct. The people have these people reading this, they have a lot to look at, but don't think about it like that. You need to think about it again as a chance. Each activity you put on there should be showing the admissions committee something about you that they should want you at their medical school. All right, so you want to have a plan for what you're targeting for each activity you put on there. Okay, so I'm going to bring up an activity here. So this was actually from my own application. So the first thing you're going to be able to do on AMCAS is choose an experience type. Okay, so this can be community service or volunteer work, not clinical. Community service or volunteer work, clinical or medical, artistic endeavors. It can be awards or honors. It can be, there's several different categories that can fall under. So leadership is another one that you can choose. So all of these are ones that you want to, it matters which one you choose, okay? Let's put it that way. So, and it also helps you focus on what you're going to be talking about in your activities description, all right? So the next thing, once you choose your category, you're going to choose the experience name. So here you want to make it more active than passive, okay? So you could say, for example, if you were a mentor, you could say mentoring. Okay, that's fine, but it's kind of boring, all right? So I'm going to read you guys mine. So experience type was community service / volunteer, non-medical or clinical. Also, this will be down in the description for you guys to look at so you can see it in writing. So experience type, community service, volunteer, non-medical, clinical. Experience name, mentor to Sam. Okay, so it's a little bit more interesting, it's a little bit more active, it's a little more personal. it's already, more interesting than a lot of ones that the committee is going to look at. Okay, dates, okay, whatever, hours per week. You got to be accurate with this, but remember that the longer time you're involved with something, the better it's going to look on your application. If you're doing something for one day, the committee is going to look at that and say, does this person really care about people, or are they just kind of choosing things to put on their, or doing things just so it'll be on their application? Okay. Next, you're going to put in contact name and title. So, you just, whoever you want to have contacted from there, the name of the organization, city, state, country. So all that, whatever, you have to put it in there. So next is the experience description. Again, do not just list things you did. So like I was a mentor, right? I'm not going to say I went to Sam's house and talked to him and have that be like the end of it. I'm going to talk about what I learned from that experience and what character traits I developed that medical schools want. So for mentoring, it's going to be a couple. It's going to be leadership, right? Because you're kind of a mentor for this person. And it's going to be compassion, okay? So I want to talk about both of those in my description. Now, how much space do you have to do this? Not very much. You have 700 characters, including spaces, to both describe what you did and what you learned from it. There is an exception to this. You have 3 activities you can choose that are most meaningful. So a question I get a lot is, what should I choose for my most meaningful activities? I would just tell people, whatever's most meaningful to you. There's no real magic to it. It's the things that really impacted you the most of the things that you did and you put on your application. Another question I get is, well, can I talk about things most meaningful that are also in my personal statement? Yeah, you can. If it was the most meaningful, it might show up in both, and that's okay. You might not have like all 3 most meaningful also in your personal statement. The other thing to think about with most meaningful is you almost definitely want to have one that is clinical, okay? You also will probably want to have one that's like community service or maybe research. The other ones, I guess, whatever's most meaningful to you, but definitely have one that's clinical is my personal recommendation to you. So let's go back to this. Experience description. All right, so I'm going to read it to you guys. Again, you can follow along in the description below. Also, this is older, so the character count isn't exactly right. It would fall under it if I chose this as a most meaningful experience, so let's just kind of say I did that. So, I had the chance to mentor Sam, a 13-year-old boy with cerebral palsy. I had a partner, Jennifer, and she and I would go visit Sam in Payson, Utah once a week. So one thing I want you guys to note here is specifics, okay? Specificity is the key to credibility, all right? You want to have specific things when you're talking about this. So I'm using names of places, I'm using names of people. All right, so going on. We would go to the park, read, or play video games, Sam's favorite. My favorite was Dance Dance Revolution. I still don't know how he beat me from his wheelchair. Haha. So this, you can add some personality to these things. One thing to think about is, if you are not having fun writing this, and by having fun, I don't necessarily mean, laughing and having fun, but if you're writing and it doesn't really mean much to you, the person reading it, it's not going to mean much to them either. So you want to really write from your heart. Okay, sounds kind of cliche, but you do. Okay, so moving on. It was always fun to visit with Sam, but a little difficult as well. It was hard to see Sam unable to do many of the normal things that children do. He could not talk normally, eat normally, or move normally. But he still had normal feelings and normal needs. He would often talk about girls he liked at school and how he did not like to do homework. I could relate. Through this experience, I learned to see Sam not so much as a disabled person, but as a person who was disabled. He still needed to be loved, cared for, and respected. He needed to express his ideas. He also needed to have realistic boundaries and expectations for his behavior. He couldn't use his disability as an excuse to act out or perform below his best in school. As I work with patients in the future, I feel that these lessons will be very valuable. I need to set realistic expectations for patients and hold them to them. I also need to focus on the person and treat the patient, not just the disease. So, reading through that and, kind of thinking about the things that I talked about. So, how much time did I spend talking about what I did? Not that much. I'd say I went there, I helped with homework. It's pretty short. The rest of the time was spent really talking about these things that I learned that kind of show these character traits that the medical school admissions committee wants. I learned compassion. I learned about setting limits. I learned about, being realistic about expectations for people. Those are kind of leadership skills. I learned to see this person not as the disease, but as a person. That's the compassion part of it. So that's the way you want to write these things. Less time about exactly what you did, although you do need to do that. More time about what you learned so that you can show these character traits that the schools want. This can be tricky because you don't have a lot of space to do it. But you should do it like this. So that, again, each activity should sell yourself to the committee, and think about it in that way. There are also, tips about how much of each type of activity you should put in there and things like that. So you want to make it the best it can be. I don't recommend medical school personal statement advising or professional advising for everybody. You can get that looked at by other people. I explained that in my video about the personal statement. But for the AMCAS application, I think everybody should pay to get it edited. Or, if you have access to somebody that's really great at this, maybe like a pre-med advisor or something like that, that's seen a lot and can really help you with this, go ahead and go that route. But if you don't really, it's worth paying to get this thing looked at by someone who knows what they're talking about. So at Med School Coach, everybody there's been on an admissions committee. We've seen a lot of applications. We know what works and what doesn't, and we can help you really get your point across in that small amount of characters so that you will stand out and be top of the list when it comes for them to accept you to their medical school. So information's below on how to get in touch with us and get that thing edited. I hope you found this useful. Again, look below for my example so you can kind of look through that as something kind of like a template to follow for when you're writing your activities. All right, best of luck to you.